Hi, so this video is for working on scar tissue. The scar that I'm going to be working on specifically is going to be my C-section scar, but this can be definitely done for any type of abdominal scar. So whether from a laparoscopic surgery, a laparoscopy, anything like even minimally invasive, C-section scars. I would say like it would be a little bit higher up, but then even, you're going to take the same concept, but even just like open heart surgery as well too. So all of them will be super helpful. So I'm just wearing shorts and I'm bringing them down just a little bit so you can see my C-section scar. I have done a lot of work. So I had my baby about 6 years ago, no longer a baby, but I've done a lot of work to work on my scar. So at least superficially, it's not as tender as it used to be. Definitely moves a lot better, but I know, that doing some work deep is also still needed. But this is at least just to kind of make sure that you're getting that scar moving, and then also removing any type of sensitivity that's there, because usually there's a lot of nerve damage that has happened there because nerves are cut, during the surgery. And so there might be a feeling of numbness, difficult to touch, like a burning, itching type of sensation that can occur. So here I have just my massage oil, but you can use castor oil. I feel that that's a really nice healing property, but I have that at the clinic, so I don't have that with me. So I'm going to use just a little bit of this massage oil. I think like really any type of oil will do, just so that you are decreasing any type of like traction. So you want the skin to move. So I'm going to start off with just like a general movement around my belly. I like to just do this general abdominal massage, and I can do this in a clockwise direction. So I'm going from right to left, moving down and then up. You can either have both of the hands follow, or one hand can go and then the other one goes around as well too. And so you just want things to move. So especially after any type of major abdominal surgery, lots of things, are moved, during the surgery. So especially if they fill you up with gas, usually it's like carbon dioxide that they fill you up in order to kind of help create some space so they can see what they're doing. If it's like if you're postpartum and you had a C-section, obviously everything, your organs and everything was moved up a little bit higher. So now your body is just kind of trying to reorient and get used to the new feeling of, the new position of organs now that the baby is no longer there. Then all of this, is just super, super helpful. And obviously, yes, I'm addressing for those with scar tissue, but even if you had a vaginal birth and you had scar tissue before, or if you just need to do some work on, just want loving touch to your belly, after having your baby, then I would say this would also be super helpful. So for those who have had any type of scar, then I would recommend that you wait until after your incisions have healed and you no longer have the tape there, shouldn't be infected where it's like really red or pussy or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you're working when it's healed. So I'm going to just drop this down just a little bit lower so you can see my scar. So hopefully you can see that. And so right where my scar is, so I'm going to just start. I can tack it down with one hand, and then I'm just going to be pulling up. Okay, so I can do this along the whole length of my scar. And so even now, 6 years later, like as I do this, because I don't do this every day compared to during the first year of my postpartum, where I did this on a regular basis, that was my daughter walking by, I still get a little bit of burning sensation, just kind of towards the edges of my scar. So a little bit of pulling. Then you have, obviously, your scar tissue will run, kind of horizontally. So then I can move my hands. So it's going to be going, one finger will be going to the left, one will be going towards the right. And I just do that, moving it across. So the fingers can slide. If you find that, some people might have like keloids. So keloids are going to be like kind of like really rigid balls of tissue around that scar. Not a good thing, you know, so you definitely want to do work around that keloid. So what I'm doing is like right on that scar line, I'm just doing some circles. And I can do that all along the length of that scar, and especially where that keloid is. So we're never actually getting rid of scar tissue. Like the scar tissue is there. It's just extra, you know, layers of collagen fibers that have laid down in order to close up, you know, wherever the incision or tear, whatever it is may be. All we're doing when we do this massage is just to help to soften it. That's the goal. So we're not getting rid of it. We're just helping to soften it. So that way, any type of restrictions, adhesions, anything that might be impeding movement of your organs, impeding movement of, you know, your limbs or your hips, that way there's at least a little bit more ease with that, okay? So a couple of things that I've already showed. So where you can tack it down in one spot, you're gonna draw your fingers up, moving in that direction. And then you're gonna also do a crisscross. So on either side of that scar, one finger will move towards the right, the other one towards the left. You can then also switch it that other direction. And then along that line of the scar, where I do some circles and just working all along that area. So those are, you know, I would say like that's a really general thing to, you know, work for your scar. You know, I can also just kind of run my fingers on the scar directly. Some people might feel kind of weird, especially if you've never touched it. So you might want to just work above or below the scar, and that's totally fine. So you can still do all of the same stuff because one of the things that's important to note is whether, especially if you've had a C-section, you know, so they're making several cuts. It's not just like one huge slice and then they get the baby out. So, you know, they're cutting through the skin, they're cutting through several layers, you know, of tissue. They're cutting through the bag of peritoneum, of connective tissue. That's kind of like our abdominal bag. And then they're also cutting through the uterus. So, and that's, you know, a muscle. So there's several cuts that they're making. It's not just one. So we're never just working on one particular scar tissue. It's actually several layers of scar tissue that we're working with. So it's important for, yes, to work like superficially on the scar that you can visibly see, but then also to then just kind of, so I like to do, I mean, you know, when you're starting off with this one, to just kind of feel like, you know, when you're running your fingers across, is it running smoothly? Do you feel any areas of rigidity? Do you feel any areas of hardness? You know, so then after working on the scar, you can always come back, you know, to your belly. You can just, especially, you know, if you know that, okay, I got a lot of bloating or there's like some pain or discomfort, then you can just kind of palpate. I like to, again, do circles. So I can go underneath my rib cage, go all the way across. And then I should be able to feel, you know, I should be able to sink my fingers in. And it should be nice and soft and gushy. Obviously, if you haven't had a bowel movement, especially as you're working on your left side, it might feel a little bit hard and tender just because there's some stool that's there, and that's okay. But otherwise, you know, and obviously you should be doing this on a regular basis. So then the next day, or if you do it later on in the day or first thing in the morning, you notice, oh, okay, it's not as tender. It's most likely because there was stool there. But otherwise, if it's kind of staying pretty constant and you don't have that same type of, you know, we're looking for a buoyancy or an elasticity in your belly, it's pretty much a good indication that there could be some areas that could be affected by your scar, you know, for sure. I like to think of the scar as like a spider web. And so all those collagen fibers is like a mishmash of fibers. And like you're taking matchsticks and you're just throwing them on the ground and they just kind of, they form in any way. And that's what scar tissue does. So it's an unorganized form of collagen fibers. And so it'll be it can spread, you know, especially if you're not encouraging movement on a regular basis. So whether it's with massage or just movement in general, or even breathing, because that's another type of movement that you're doing, then it can, you know, creep its way into other areas and then create restriction, create tightness, and then a lot of the dysfunction that might be showing up, you know, musculoskeletally, but it might be because of the scar tissue I know that might have been formed. So then if you're going through your belly, you find that there's other areas of tenderness, of rigidity, of adhesion, then you're just doing the same thing using your fingers. I like to, again, just kind of go in a clockwise direction. I'm working with my breath as well to keep things just kind of like soft and relaxed. My legs are extended out, but you can always bend your knees, have like a pillow or something underneath your knees so that way you can keep them relaxed. I'm just keeping them extended so you can actually get a better picture of my lower abdomen. But yes, then I'm just, making circles, moving in the area where I feel that tension. And it will take time for it to soften up. So especially if that scar tissue has been there for a really long time, don't expect that it's going to go away just after like 2 sessions. So this is something that takes commitment. So it's something that you need to be doing on a regular basis. And I tell this to my patients, like, obviously the best position to do this is when you're lying down. So, if it's a struggle for you to find time to go and do this type of work, you're already laying in bed when you're about to go to sleep, and you're already laying in bed when you're about to get up in the morning. So that would be the perfect time. You're doing it at least twice a day. It takes like 5 minutes to do. And then just have a bottle of oil next to you. So that's the scar tissue massage. Obviously, there's a lot more in-depth things that you can do, but that at least is the beginning. And also, I feel like a lot of this work is very intuitive. So your body will tell you, like, oh, instead of just up and down, maybe move a little bit more diagonally. You can just kind of play, with the different positions that are challenging for the tissue that is not used to moving. And then you will find a lot of change there. Okay? So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I will be happy to answer them for you. And good luck on your journey while working with your scar.